Okay, guys, one of the most common questions I get, how do you last longer in bed, right? So I'm not just talking, let's just start by saying it takes the average, if you're talking about heterosexual sex, it takes the average woman about 20 minutes to reach orgasm and the average man about 7.5 minutes. So there's already a gap. But you aren't considered to have early ejaculation, or I like that term better than premature ejaculation. It's a little less derogatory, but you're not considered to have that unless you reach orgasm as a guy sooner than 7.5 minutes. But whether that's the case or not, there are things to do to train yourself. And it is a training system to last longer. So whether you can't last 7.5 minutes or you just want to last as long as you want to last, you want more ejaculatory control, that's what I'm going to spell out for you here. Okay? So I'm going to share 2 key techniques. The first, which is really the easiest to learn, is called the stop-start technique. First of all, you want to practice this during self-stimulation, not when you're with a partner, because obviously with your partner, there's heightened sensation, there's some performance anxiety. You know, for many people, they assume, oh, if I have early ejaculation, it must be because I have a sensation, I'm feeling too much, right? They don't think it could be anxiety, but anxiety can actually cause early ejaculation or in some cases delayed ejaculation. So it varies, right? There's lots of reasons why a guy may not have the staying power he wants. But the number one reason is accidentally having trained himself for the opposite. So if you were raised, for instance, with a lot of shame or a lot of punitive and negative influences around sexuality, sex was wrong, bad, dirty, or masturbation was wrong, bad, dirty, or you had some moment where someone caught you masturbating and shamed you, right? Then what typically happens, and this happens for, I would say, unfortunately, the majority of boys, is that they are trying to self-stimulate when they're young and they start wanting to self-stimulate as quickly as possible. So no one walks in or no one catches them in the bathroom or, whatever. So they accidentally train themselves to reach orgasm really quickly because of the shame or the fear of getting caught. For some men, it just happens because they've been self-stimulating for so long before they start having sex that they've just trained themselves that way to reach orgasm. And then once they do finally have sex, their body is trained and primed to get going and get finished as quickly as possible. So the stop-start technique is really helpful. And this is how it works. Let's say on a scale of 0 to 10, 10 is the point of what we call ejaculatory inevitability. Isn't that a funny term? But that is the point of no return. It is happening, right? It's happening. There's nothing you can do about it. That's 10. 0 is zero arousal. So through self-stimulation, when you're by yourself, no pressure, you self-stimulate, getting yourself to like a 6 out of 10. And then you either slow down or stop until you get down to a 4. And then you go up to a 6 and then back down to a 4, up to a 6, down to a 4. Then maybe you try 7 down to a 4, right? So you let yourself get a little more aroused before you stop or slow down and let it come back. And you can let it come back down ideally just by slowing down in an ideal world. If not slowing down, stopping. That should hopefully will be enough to bring the arousal down, but sometimes it isn't. So that's where you get the old adage, think of baseball or think of grandma, right? Think of something else, okay? Until it comes back down to a 4. And then you do that several times, 4 to 7, 4 to 7, or 4 to 6, or 4 to 6. Do that several times until you finally let yourself get to the 10. And what happens is that with practice, your body starts to create that muscle memory of getting there and slowing down and getting there and slowing down. And you get lots of control by yourself before you start to practice with a partner, okay? The other, if the stop-start technique doesn't work, then there's something called the squeeze technique. Around the penis at the tip, right below the head, where the head meets the shaft on the underside, there's an area that looks like an upside-down V, where the head of the penis meets the shaft of the penis on the underside. That is called the frenulum. And right at that point, you want to put your 2 fingers, your pointer and your middle finger where that little frenulum is, and your thumb on the other side, and you squeeze. You don't have to like squeeze the crap out of your poor penis, but you squeeze when you get to a 7. And that squeeze will actually really slow down the arousal. Okay. Now, in an ideal world, it's going to be hard when you're having sex. You can pull out or whatever and give it a squeeze. But what we want you to get to is the point where you can just slow down a little bit, right? In the moment once you train yourself. And the other thing to try as you're slowing down, and you can try this both with the stop start or with the squeeze, is utilizing your breath and your Kegel muscles. Now, remember, the Kegel muscles go in a figure 8 around the genitals and the anus. So in a guy, it would be around the scrotum and the anus. And so when you squeeze those muscles, they're the same muscles that are used to stop the flow of urine midstream. When you squeeze those muscles, that actually clenches back. Once you're at like an 8, 9, 10, it's not going to work because you're getting too close and the semen has already started to move through the cycle. But if you squeeze those Kegels when you're a 5 or 6 or even a 7 out of 10, you squeeze those Kegel muscles, that is actually creating an internal squeeze technique. And if you use your breath, because what we tend to do is breathe heavier and quicker as we get aroused, right? To almost pant. So you slow down your breath. That slows down the nervous system, the arousal, and will help you gain some ejaculatory control, right? So with self-stimulation, as you're practicing that stop-start, or if that doesn't work, the squeeze technique, you're also squeezing those Kegels and taking slow, deep breaths. And then when you're actually having sex with someone else, you are now doing the same thing. You're slowing down, you're tightening your Kegels, you're maybe thinking about baseball if you need to. You're taking some deep breaths. And the thing to also remember is that you'll get to the point where it works really well by yourself. And it probably, when you go and try it with a partner, is not going to work as well at first because it's much more arousing and energizing and anxiety provoking when you're with someone else. So don't be discouraged when it works by yourself and it doesn't work with your partner at first. It's the same kind of practice. Now, if you're with a partner who's known to you and not like a one-night stand, or even if you are with a one-night stand, you can enlist your partner's help. It helps so much to tell your partner what's going on. First of all, if you're in a relationship and you're having early ejaculation, talk about it. Don't let it become the 800-pound gorilla in the room with you that no one's talking about, because that just makes things worse. And then enlist your partner's help. Tell them what you're doing to improve on the situation, and then tell them what you want to do during. So when we're having sex together, I may pull out for a second and just catch my breath. Or I may actually ask you to squeeze this area, right? Or I may squeeze this area. So they're prepared and you're prepared, and there isn't this like awkwardness as you're using the techniques. And your partner is part of the solution. And research has shown time and time again that whenever there's a sexual issue, in particular with a man, whether it's erectile dysfunction or early ejaculation or even low desire, the number one predictor of how well he's going to resolve things is if he's in a relationship, his partner's engagement in the treatment. So for instance, when they studied men who went to doctors for sexual health issues, the prognosis and the improvement was so much greater when that man's partner was with him, went to doctor's appointments with him, and was part of the treatment protocol with him. Makes sense, right? But we need our partner's involvement if we're in a relationship. So if you have any more questions about that or anything else, just ask me here. And if you like this video, make sure to like it and subscribe.